Hello, friends. This is Scott Monty. Stand by for commentary.
Welcome to the Full Monty, where you'll be exposed to commentary and analysis from the week's digital news. You give us 15 minutes, and we'll save you hours. And now, here's your host, Scott Monty.
Hi, and welcome to the Full Monty, an audio companion to the newsletter of the same name. Each week, I pick one or two pressing issues and inject insight, opinion, maybe a little wit into this 15-minute show that's sure to give you a better sense of what's affecting the industry. Maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't, but I hope it makes you think. This week, amid the do's and don'ts of business, a look at the shoulds and shouldn'ts. When I was growing up, my parents made sure I understood right from wrong, and that I knew that there were consequences if I made poor decisions. Not only consequences with which they would greet me, but consequences that the world would inevitably provide. And one of the struggles, not just for me, but for anyone really, was that doing the right thing wasn't always smooth sailing. It could be a lonely place at times, watching others taking shortcuts, cheating their way through things, or even doing things that blatantly flouted the rules. All of these actions made it seem all the more difficult to do the right thing. And that's when my parents' admonition came back to me. Doing what's right isn't always doing what's easy. Fame, fortune, and popular culture are such a strong driver of content today. From keeping up with the Kardashians to a president who is a reality TV star, we see millions of people who popularize things that are entertaining rather than things that cause us to think more deeply about ourselves and about the world around us. In his acceptance speech for a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Television Academy Hall of Fame, Fred Rogers, that's right, Mr. Rogers, reminded us that
fame is a four-letter word. And like tape or Zoom or face or pain or life or love, what ultimately matters is what we do with it.
This week, we saw Pepsi latch itself onto the fame of Kendall Jenner, one of the band of misfits that calls itself the Kardashian family. Now, in case you missed it, the 2.5-minute ad disguised as a film, disguised as a music video, showed Jenner shaking off the chains of the modeling industry to join a slow-moving protest march, culminating in her grabbing a Pepsi out of a handy tub of iced cans and bottles that just happened to be on the sidelines of the protest, handing it to a police officer, and then the crowd erupting in cheers.
Who are the ad wizards who came up with this one?
The ad, which in its imagery implored us to, quote-unquote, join the conversation, united the Internet in a rare show of solidarity. In that unity, the online world condemned Pepsi and its tone deafness for using protest imagery to sell soda. From nearly 6 times as many downvotes as upvotes on YouTube, to a Twitter search that yielded nothing but negative reactions for Pepsi, the outrage was palpable, and the company eventually pulled the ad. In its haste to try to market to millennials, that demographic that has foregone sweet effervescent beverages in recent years, Pepsi tried to use the imagery that it thought mattered to them. Time and again, we see studies, statistics, and reports that all tell us that millennials prefer to do business with corporations and brands with pro-social messages, with sustainable manufacturing methods, and with ethical business standards. Well, one might argue that this doesn't just apply to millennials, but to perennials. That is, to people. See, the challenge is that when companies decide to take on this behavior and champion these causes because they're the flavor of the week, or they just want to do it to curry favor, it doesn't work unless it's authentic, unless it's part of the way which your company does business day in and day out, regardless of trends and regardless of marketing campaigns. We'll have a look at how some businesses are breaking the mold after the break.
Get your trivia skills ready for the Naked Truth.
This week's Naked Truth trivia question. You've heard the song known as Nadia's Theme? But how did it get that name? And where did the song originate? Answer later in the show. And now, page 2. Mr. Rogers gave that speech to a room full of television people. But let's not forget that show business is still business, and the message that he brought to them could be applied just as easily to you and your business.
I feel that those of us in television are chosen to be servants. It doesn't matter what our particular job. We are chosen to help meet the deeper needs of those who watch and listen, day and night.
It's that attitude of being in the service of others that we sometimes forget. And where else is this more apparent than in politics? And no, this is not going to be a political rant, in case you were worried. The fame, fortune, and power so often sought after and demonstrated by elected officials perhaps blinds them to the true notion of what they do or what they should do. But they are public servants. They are chosen to represent the people and to serve. Yet the prevailing attitude toward politicians is one of revulsion, that these individuals are too self-concerned to look out for the little people. They're protecting their own self-interests and looking toward the next election in an effort to retain that power and their position rather than doing what's right. And we're hoping that someone, just someone, will stand up and do the right thing. Well, maybe it's not going to happen among our elected leaders. Maybe it needs to happen elsewhere. 2 recent examples bring this home. President Trump recently signed legislation from Congress loosening the requirements for telecommunications companies to protect consumer privacy. As a result, AT&T, Comcast, and Verizon all have said that they will not sell customers' individual internet browsing histories. They stepped up when the law says otherwise. Another example is President Trump's executive order that was aimed at unraveling President Obama's climate change policies. Many are viewing this as him making good on his pledge to bring back coal, to support the fossil fuel industry, and to loosen regulations that may be constraining businesses. Others view this as a deprioritization of the protection of our environment. But some of America's biggest companies, the ones at which this executive order is aimed, are saying, no thanks, vowing instead to stick to the environmental pledges they've already made in the past few years. Walmart, a Brain Trust client, has already vowed to get half of its power from renewable energy sources by 2025. The world's biggest beer company, Anheuser-Busch InBev, pledged last week to get 100% of its electricity from renewable sources by 2025. And Mars Inc. wants to eliminate its emissions altogether by 2040. Procter & Gamble, Nestle, IKEA, Levi Strauss, Best Buy, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Alphabet, all of these companies and more have indicated their willingness to do their part to be respectful to the environment.
By doing whatever we can to bring courage to those whose lives move near our own. By treating our neighbor at least as well as we treat ourselves. and allowing that to inform everything that we produce.
Between 1947 and 1977, numerous factories lining the Hudson River polluted it by dumping byproducts of their manufacturing process into the water. There was nothing stopping them from doing this. It was legally permissible. And General Electric took most of the blame, as it was the only manufacturer left along the Hudson in the 1970s. And then over the last 30 years, GE stepped up to do extensive cleanup work to make it right. Since that time, it's become more apparent that doing the right thing, while sometimes costly, can have a positive impact on corporate reputation, as well as on the lives of people, wherever business impacts them. And this isn't always a matter of what's required under the law. Most often, companies choose to act in ethical ways because it's what they know in their hearts that they should do, rather than what's allowed. Thinking back to my university days, I recall one line from a blessing that concluded the remarks from the university chaplain every time he addressed a crowd. Hold fast to that which is good. He was imploring us to reflect on our values, to understand what was within us, and to make an effort to seek out and act on what is right. We all started somewhere, whether we were born with more opportunities than the average person, or whether we had to claw and struggle our way through life trying to find our way. And along that way, we had people who encouraged us, people who loved us, people who gave us chances.
Who in your life has been such a servant to you? Who has helped you love the good that grows within you? Let's just take 10 seconds to think of some of those people who have loved us and wanted what was best for us in life. Those who have encouraged us to become who we are tonight. Just 10 seconds of silence. I'll watch the time. No matter where they are, either here or in heaven, imagine how pleased those people must be to know that you thought of them right now.
And while Mr. Rogers' words were directed at those in show business, it's a good idea to recall that his advice is not just good business. It's the right thing to do. The poem of the week is an excerpt from Rudyard Kipling's If, written as advice to his son John. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And, which is more, you'll be a man, my son. We asked you about the origin of Nadia's theme. Composed by Barry Dvorak and Perry Botkin Jr. in 1971 for the musical Bless the Beasts and the Children, it was originally titled Cotton's Theme. In 1973, it was used as a theme to the soap opera The Young and the Restless. And then, In the TV broadcast of the 1976 Olympics, it was used as music over a montage of Nadia Comaneci's routines, where it picked up its popular name. If you have a topic you'd like us to cover on the show, please get in touch with us by emailing us at fullmontyshow@scottmonty.com. And if you've enjoyed this series, please consider becoming a patron and show your financial support at patreon.com/scottmonty. Also, please consider leaving a rating or review for us on iTunes or on whatever platform you listen to us. Be sure to check out other major stories from the April 3rd edition of the Full Monty. It looks as if BuzzFeed will be going public in 2018. We'll have to see if the media company with the sensibility of a tech company is positioned well enough to make a splash in the IPO market. Audi is buying Silvercar, the luxury car rental service that offers Audi A4s. The automaker had already invested $28 million in a round C of financing previously. And have you ever felt guilty about that nearly unused bar of soap that you've left behind at your hotel? Well, there's no need to worry, as Clean the World is an Orlando charity that is recycling your hotel soap for use by impoverished countries. Well, that's all for this week. With any luck, your brain is a bit bigger now. Thank you for making me a part of your week and for being exposed to the Full Monty. Until next time, I'm Scott Monty, and I'll see you on the internet.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the Full Monty newsletter and this program at fullmontyshow.com.
Just do it.